You walk through the door and your cat greets you, roughly the same way, day after day. But here's what most owners never stop to consider. Those first few seconds actually reveal a surprising amount about what's been going on in your cat's mind while you were away. Most of these greeting styles point to something genuinely good about your bond. But one specific pattern is worth paying closer attention to, because it can mean your cat has been quietly struggling with something you haven't noticed yet. Let's start with the tail, because it's saying more than it looks like. Picture the scene. You're standing just inside the door, keys still in hand. Your cat comes over, tail raised high with that familiar little hook at the very tip. It reads as a sweet, simple greeting, and it is. But there's something happening that you can't actually see or smell. That curved tail tip often ends up hovering right around your face and upper body. And that positioning isn't accidental. Your cat is effectively releasing a light scent signal into the air right around you. Behavior experts have noted that tail posture shifts noticeably depending on how comfortable a cat feels with the specific person in front of them. The angle, the curve, even the overall height all carry information. But watch closely, because some cats do something entirely different. Instead of a simple raised tail, the whole tail trembles, not just a small twitch at the tip, but a full, visible vibration running the length of it. This tends to signal something more intense than a calm, curved tip greeting. Some behavioral research suggests this kind of trembling shows up in cats who experienced a stronger stress response while you were away, and the shaking motion may help release some of that built-up tension. Then there's a third version, a cat whose tail stays low, sweeping slowly back and forth in wide arcs as they walk toward you. This one usually points to mixed signals internally, genuine happiness that you're home, tangled together with some kind of uncertainty. Maybe you smell subtly different than usual. Maybe your energy just feels a little off compared to normal. Either way, it's worth paying attention to. That fast patter of paws racing across the floor the second you're back, your cat launching from wherever they'd been posted up, can look like straightforward joy. And often, it is. But it's worth knowing what else it can mean. Veterinary behaviorists pay close attention to exactly this kind of greeting pattern, because it can reveal how a cat has actually been coping with being alone. In some cats, particularly more anxious ones, that dramatic sprint to the door tends to pair with spending more of their alone time listening for sounds than genuinely relaxing. These cats often don't fully settle while you're gone. They stay tuned in, alert for anything that might signal you're on your way back. The more telling part shows up right after they reach you. A cat who's simply happy will greet you and then move on fairly quickly, wander off for a snack, settle into a favorite sunny spot. A cat dealing with real separation-related stress tends to look different. They follow you from room to room. They struggle to settle down. Within a few minutes, a lot of these cats start grooming excessively, their tongue working overtime as a self-soothing response to stress hormones still circulating in their system. So in a more anxious cat, that sprint isn't really about excitement in the moment. It's closer to a final release after a long stretch of built-up anticipation. Cats who show this pattern regularly are also more prone to developing stress-linked physical issues over time. Digestive upset, over-grooming, sometimes even urinary problems tied to chronic stress. Then there's the greeting that comes with no sound at all. You come home, your cat walks over, maybe rubs against your leg, maybe just sits close by. But there's no sound at all through any of it. No meow, no chirp, nothing. Domestic cats developed an entire vocal toolkit specifically for communicating with people. In the wild, adult cats rarely meow at each other at all. That whole range, chirps, trills, meows, chattering, is largely built around us specifically. So when a cat who's normally fairly vocal suddenly starts greeting you in total silence, it's genuinely worth noticing. In cats who are usually chatty, a sudden shift towards silent greetings can indicate that something in their world doesn't feel quite right. Behavior experts sometimes see this pattern in cats dealing with ongoing discomfort or stress. Cats who may have already been signaling pain or anxiety through other, more subtle behaviors that didn't seem to change anything. From the cat's side, it can feel like their earlier signals simply didn't lead anywhere, so some cats gradually shift away from relying on vocal communication as much. That doesn't mean the affection is gone. These cats still come to greet you, still clearly care. It's more that they seem to lean more heavily on body language than voice going forward. This shows up fairly often in older cats dealing with joint pain, cats in multi-pet homes with some unresolved tension, or cats responding to some environmental stressor their owner hasn't fully identified yet. Watch closely too for the circling. Your cat starts walking toward you, veers off, curves back, loops around again, wide circles forming around your legs. Here's what's actually going on underneath that. In a more natural setting, cats tend to approach anything valuable using a spiral-style path, which lets them assess potential threats from multiple angles while always keeping an escape route open. So when your cat circles you like this, they're partly running a quick security check on the space, not purely saying hello. Pay attention to how wide those circles actually are. Tight loops close to your body generally suggest a routine, confident check-in. But when the circles widen out, carrying your cat behind furniture or briefly into another room before looping back to you, that's a somewhat different signal. Wider circling tends to point to genuine uncertainty, your energy reading differently than usual, an unfamiliar scent you're carrying, something that needs more information before your cat fully settles. The wider the loop, generally, the more data they feel they need. Some cats take this further, tracing figure-8 patterns that include both you and specific objects nearby. In effect, they're mapping the safety of the whole space, using you as the central reference point the entire pattern is built around. This tends to show up more in naturally cautious cats, or cats who've learned to stay extra alert whenever their routine shifts even slightly. If any of this is changing how you read your cat's homecoming ritual, tap that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps us reach more cat owners who want to understand what's actually happening behind these familiar daily moments. There's also a physical greeting worth understanding carefully, because two versions of it look almost identical but mean very different things. Your cat's head makes brief contact with your leg right as you're standing in the entryway, a quick bump often followed by cheek rubbing. That's your cat refreshing the scent markers that identify you specifically as part of their family group. But sometimes a cat does something that looks nearly the same on the surface and means something considerably different underneath. Instead of a light bump followed by movement, they press. Their head stays in firm, sustained contact. No rubbing motion, just steady pressure held in place. This particular pattern, especially if it shows up suddenly as part of an established greeting routine, can point toward physical discomfort. In some medical situations, cats dealing with head pain, changes in vision, or neurological issues will start seeking out steady pressure against a trusted person's body specifically. That contact may genuinely feel stabilizing or soothing to them in that moment. The distinguishing detail is subtle but consistent: movement versus stillness. A typical social head bump involves motion and active scent marking. A pain-related head press involves holding still and actively seeking pressure instead. This pattern is worth paying particular attention to in middle-aged or older cats, since it can point toward dental pain or early neurological changes worth having checked. Finally, there's the greeting almost everyone misreads completely. You've barely made it through the door, and your cat flops fully onto their back, belly completely exposed, paws relaxed in the air. Most owners read this one incorrectly. Cats who greet this way tend to share a common background: solid early socialization as kittens, consistently positive interactions with people, and generally no major negative experiences tied to greetings at the door. That belly-up posture reflects a deep sense of psychological security. Your cat feels safe enough to voluntarily take on the single most physically vulnerable position available to them, right at the moment you walk in. That exposed belly is a demonstration of trust. It is not on its own an invitation to actually touch it. This is exactly where a lot of well-meaning owners get it wrong. They see the exposed belly, reach down to pet it, and the cat responds by grabbing or biting, not out of trickery, but because the signal got misread. The cat offered vulnerability as a form of communication, not as consent for contact. And many owners repeat this same mistake over and over, seeing the belly, reaching anyway, getting the same reaction, and quietly concluding their cat is simply unpredictable. From the cat's side, what's actually happening is closer to registering, again, that their person keeps misunderstanding this particular signal, and the small disconnect tends to grow a little with each repeated misread. Across all of these greeting styles, the underlying thread is the same. Every single one is telling you something real about how much your cat currently trusts you and how they've genuinely been experiencing the time you spend apart. Learning to actually read them, instead of reacting the same way to every greeting, is one of the simplest ways to understand your cat, far better than most owners ever bother to.